Hello Mallards, it's Wednesday, and I thought that today I would be telling you about Wicked, which I was going to go see with Mel, or the United Arts kickoff, which I was going to go to, but my allergies just beat me up today, and so I didn't do any of that. So instead, I'm here to talk to you about a show that you can go to even when your allergies are really driving you crazy, because you can do it from the comfort of your home, assuming that you have access to an Oculus Quest 2, which I do. So these are shows where performers use platforms. Most of the ones I've been to are in VR chat. So platforms that already create avatars and do some motion capture. They build their own worlds in VR chat. You enter an instance of those worlds and the actors perform for you. It's like going to immersive theater or interactive theater, but it's in VR instead of in person. I've had the opportunity previously to go to 2 Ferryman collective shows. I went to Welcome to Respite, which I enjoyed, and then I went to Gumball Dreams, where enjoyed is not strong enough to describe how I felt. That particular VR experience, I don't necessarily think will be beat anytime soon. We'll see. There are lots of opportunities coming up, but it certainly is currently the highlight for me. But I did get a chance earlier this week to go to a 3rd show of theirs called Murder Ballads. And the cool thing about Murder Ballads is that it is a set of scenes that all take place in this town where something, you're not really sure what, has caused people to become murderous. And the neat thing about that is because these scenes are episodic, it is sort of a modular show, so they have the opportunity, the more they do this show, to remove some stories and add in other stories, or to change the order of stories because the world is modular, so you can be like, yes, now we'll reach this scene, and now we'll reach this scene, and now we'll reach this scene, which I thought was really, really neat. The one thing that I would recommend that I learned while I was doing it, generally I stand to do VR. I like to be able to move my physical body and walk around. It helps with my motion sickness. It also helps make me feel more immersed in the world. However, this show, they bill it as a dark ride, and I should have taken that into account before I started, but it is mostly sitting in a wagon and watching these scenes occur. And so I highly, highly recommend having your VR already set up for stationary sitting, because as a standing person, when I got into this tall wagon, the wagon was tall and I didn't get any taller because I was still standing, which just essentially resulted in me being at my character's waist for a lot of the show. It didn't impede my view of anything, but it did make things a little uncomfortable. And then when I got tired, I didn't really have the option to sit, because if I sat down, I would be inside the wagon and I would lose my view of what was going on. So recommend starting that show sitting. Other than that, though, it is a really cool experience. I liked the stories. It had songs, which I was really hoping for since it's called Murder Ballads. And if it didn't have a murder ballad, I was going to be sad. But there was. Really, really nice murder ballad. And some of the stories are stronger than others. If you experience this show, you might see different stories than I did. But I really liked the opening story, which is the one with the main murder ballad in it. I thought it was beautifully done. There were several other stories that I enjoyed in there. There was a mine story that felt very empty to me, like there wasn't enough there. I felt like we didn't spend any time actually exploring it, and we didn't really get to know anything about that story, which was interesting only because when you reach the end of the ride, there are these tradesmen who are trying to sell you items that you encountered earlier. So these items related to these murder ballads in this darkness. And one of those items is the pickaxe from the mine, and no one in my vehicle bid on it. And I don't necessarily think we would have, because we didn't feel connected to that in a way we did to some of the others. The other interesting dynamic of this one, as opposed to Gumball Dreams or Welcome to Respite. So in Welcome to Respite, you are very clearly assigned either you are interacting or you are not interacting. So you're either talking to the performers or you're not. And if you're not, there are some voting mechanics and game mechanics you can do, but other than that, you don't have interaction ability. In Gumball Dreams, you are very much interacting the entire time. You are talking to the characters, they are reacting to you in real time constantly. And that is the way that it works, and you're really heavily interacting with the other people that you came with. In Murder Ballads, it's sort of a mesh of the two, and I had trouble reading when and where I was allowed to interact. And so I wish that that had been a little bit more clear, because there were scenes where they appeared to be talking directly to me, but I wasn't sure if I was allowed to mostly call out the preacher who was gonna hang a woman for literally doing nothing. And I felt very strongly about that scene, and I felt like I wanted to change what was happening. But this is also a story, so I probably can't change what's happening. And whether or not my interactions were having an effect or were even able to be acknowledged was kind of hard to figure out. Because at the end, when you meet the tradesmen, they are very clearly interacting with you. And so the dichotomy of those two things was kind of interesting to me. Not bad, just for me personally was a bit of a conflict because I didn't know where I sat. Overall, this is a really, really fun show, and I know that this was sort of their first set of testing, and so it will only get better. And like I said, I'm really excited about the fact that the show is modular. So that means if I went back on Murder Ballads, I have the potential to see other stories that I didn't see, or to see different versions of the stories that I did see, and that's really cool. I like that idea, and I think it gives the project some longevity that the other ones don't necessarily have. I think that that's super fun. And I do love a good murder story and a dark ride, so it does feel like this particular experience was catered for the kind of stuff I enjoy. And the other thing that I really like about this is because it is mostly stationary and you're not doing a lot of heavy interaction with the VR, it is a great show for people who are new to the VR medium, who maybe get a little motion sick or who don't understand how all of the controls work or anything like that. Ferryman Collective is supremely good at onboarding. They have really figured that out. So they're very good at talking you through exactly how to use the technology and how everything works and how to set up your settings the correct way. And then this show in particular would allow you to then sit and enjoy the show and speak if you wanted to, but you don't really have to do any other interactions. You don't have to do a lot of moving around. There's not a lot of traveling. So it's really good for people who don't have a lot of VR experience. In fact, when it comes back, which I'm hoping it will, I'm hoping to get a ticket for my sister who hasn't done any VR shows because she's nervous about getting nauseous and all that, because I think that she could handle this and I think it would be really fun for her. The other exciting thing that I learned at this show is that Ferryman Collective is heading up this XR Live showcase, I guess. So there are going to be, over the next couple of months, a bunch of VR shows that are going to do performances as part of this XR Live festival. And so I will put a link down there to the Ferryman Collective website, and also anything I find for links for that XR Live. In case you want to check out other shows, I'm hoping it will give me the opportunity to check out shows that are not Ferryman, which I think will be fun to like experience how different people are creating in this world. I hope that you have a chance to go out and experience some VR theater. And if you have recommendations of things I should see, please let me know, and I'll see you tomorrow.